With marketing, it's such an evolving practice. Like things that are working now probably didn't exist 5 years ago. So as a marketer, you could never be completely in the know of everything. So I was just a big sponge, soak it all up and just learn on the fly. And I've made terrible mistakes. But then if they work, you scale up quickly.
I'm Eric Fulwiler, and this is Scratch, bringing you marketing lessons from the leading brands and brains rewriting the rulebook from scratch for the world of today. Hey everyone, my guests today are Jasper Martens, CMO, and Rachael Oku, the VP of Brand and Comms at PensionBee. For those in the UK, you probably know who PensionBee are already. For those not in the UK, PensionBee is a leading online pension provider, helping you transfer your old pensions into one new plan, which is a big thing over here in the UK. We're going to be talking about their recent brand campaign, Be Pension Confident, which shows how they use real customers in the actual campaign, real experiences, not actors, customers of the company that are in these campaigns, which I think is really important. The other thing that's really interesting is Jasper was the number 2 hire at PensionBee. So one, it's interesting that a company like this hired a marketer so early. And 2, it's really interesting to hear him talk about the journey and how he has evolved, not just the brands, but how he's evolved the function of marketing over that time, leading up all the way to the IPO that they did on the London Stock Exchange last April. So a couple other things that I think you're really going to enjoy, how they talk about actually being customer centric. I think customer centricity is a word that's thrown around so much and so many businesses don't actually do it, or they think they do. I think it gets talked about more than it actually gets done. And with this campaign, and as you'll hear, actually the culture within the company, it is very customer centric, and they have a couple ideas about how any business can be doing more of that. They also talk about how they build community around the PensionBee brand. And then it's also interesting to hear Rachael talk about how she managed the communications process around the IPO. Hope you enjoyed today's episode. Thanks. All right. I am here with Jasper and Rachael from PensionBee. Thank you, both of you, for being here with me today. How are you doing? Rachael, let's start with you. How's your day? How's your week? How's your month going?
Yeah, very well, thank you. It is very busy at the moment, but all in a good way. We're doing lots of exciting planning for 2022. So, very much looking forward to winding up the projects we have going this year and starting off in January afresh.
Amazing. And Jasper, how are you doing?
I'm doing absolutely fine. Yeah. Same as Rachael. We still have our campaigns running at the moment on various channels, but we are fully in 2022 mode already.
Great. All right. Well, maybe we'll have a chance to talk about how you're prepping for 2022, because I know for today, we're going to be focused on the recent campaign that you've launched, Be Pension Confident, which I have to say, and maybe it's partially because I'm coming from the financial services world, but I just see it everywhere. So focus group of 1, you definitely seem to be driving that awareness that I'm sure you're looking for. But let's get into it. So maybe we can start with just a quick overview of the campaign. What's it about? I know there's a key part of it that's actually using real customers in the ads, and we'll include a bunch of the ads in the show notes for people to go and watch. But let's start. Rachael, maybe you could just give us a quick overview of the campaign and what it's all about for you.
So our Pension Confident campaign is about moving away from our product-led messaging and talking more about how our product makes our customers feel. So we feature 4 customers in the advertising, last year's advertising campaign, which was the starting point, and it pictures them floating. They're actually levitating because we wanted to convey that once they sort out their pension and get their retirement savings back on track, they actually feel a burden taken off, that weight comes off their shoulders, and they can just, float along happily, know that they're planning and on track for a happy retirement.
Great. So Jasper, a question that I had for you, which I like to ask all of our guests, because we kind of have this case study format of actually digging into a specific campaign. What was the business challenge or opportunity that you were trying to solve for with this campaign? How did you approach it? And, knowing you a little bit, I know that I'm sure it stemmed from, hey, here's what we need to deliver for the business. It wasn't just kind of marketing for the sake of marketing. So what was that challenge or opportunity that you were trying to solve for with this campaign?
So I think one key thing with our Pension Confident campaign is, like Rachael said, adding that emotional layer in our advertising. So moving away from just the functional aspect of what PensionBee can offer to customers. And what we found is that this has been growing quite aggressively in the last couple of years. But are customers trusting you enough? Are they transferring all of their pensions to PensionBee, or they just want to try you out with a small pension? And I think with the Point Pension Confident campaign, one, building trust. First of all, by using our own customers. I can tell as much as I want how great PensionBee is. It's better just to listen to our customers and let the customers tell how they feel about PensionBee and what PensionBee can do for them. The second part is that people make financial decisions based on facts, but also based on emotions. And PensionBee is solving a really, really common problem that many people have. And that is, you've got these multiple pension pots. They're scattered all over the place. You have no idea what's in them. You don't know where they are, actually. You need to sort this out. But how does PensionBee make you feel once you're actually on top of that? So what you're doing there is you're using the benefits of our product, our functional element to it. And then you add this really positive vibe, this positive emotion that those weight is lifted off your shoulder. And that's a very welcome breeze in financial services, where if I look at many advertising, it's always about you are not saving enough for retirement. And actually giving some positivity and that emotion you feel when you're actually on top of it. And that's the direction of travel. And we saw that if we would not go down that route, we might just end up as another pension consolidator. And if I would show you a yellow ad with a phone on it, and I would replace the yellow with the green or with purple, you might actually think it's another product. Yeah. So that's why adding these emotional layers in your advertising makes your brand more distinct, more memorable, but also people are much more encouraged not just to transfer to you or open an account, but actually trust you with all of their pension life savings. So you are becoming the provider of choice. So that was the challenge and the opportunity that we saw by start using the Pension Confident theme.
So I'm curious on the customer-centric piece of it. So I think that successful brands, they could be challenger brands. They also could be incumbent businesses that are doing their marketing well and effectively. They are able to build what I'd call a human brand. And to me, that is three things. It's being purpose-led, customer-centric, and being able to build a community around what you stand for. So I'd love to talk about that a little bit more, and specifically the customer-centric piece of it, because I think that it is easier, still a ton of businesses that don't do it or don't do it well. Not easy to do, but I think it's easier for people to grasp the concept of coming up with a campaign that's customer-centric, going out and talking to customers, potentially even including them in the advertising like you've done. But doing it consistently, I think that's harder. So I'd be curious if you have something you can share on this. How do you make sure that being customer-centric isn't just something you do every 3, 6, 9 months when you have a big campaign like this, and is actually something that your team or the business lives and breathes consistently?
If I could take that one, I think, so first of all, we've got 5 company values. One company value is love. That's a very unusual value for a brand, a financial brand. Loving your customers. So loving the team, loving each other as a team, but also loving the customers. And that means that if you love your customer, then you need to listen to them. And that's what PensionBee has done from day one, whether that is through quantitative feedback, which we get through customers talking to us, chatting to us, emailing us, or more, I would say, the deep dives, qualitative research. We've got a customer voice team at PensionBee, consists of specialists that conduct research, listening, panels, helps also us selecting customers if we want to talk to them or we want to use them for our campaigns. It's I wouldn't say 24/7. We do go to sleep, but I would say it's a 365-day-a-year affair. It needs to be ingrained in your company. And I think the fact that love is one of our core 5 values, I think is testimony of us doing that. And I think that's sometimes where things might go a little bit wrong where we just do an annual survey, we listen and we get some feedback. We probably shove it into a drawer in our desks. But actually, that's one of those things I think that's really important. And I think, Rachel, the other thing that I think would be really memorable is what you've done with the fossil fuel free launch, because that actually came from customers.
Yeah, absolutely. So we surveyed the customers in one of our plans back in 2020, early 2020, and they told us that they wanted to do more with their investment. So the plan they're invested in has an engagement strategy. So they use their shareholder votes to try and push companies to make positive changes. And they were looking for a plan that actually moved away from oil altogether, didn't adopt this engagement strategy and divested instead. So we listened to what they had to say. We went to our money managers and tried to find a plan that met their needs, and there wasn't actually one in existence. So we spent around a year campaigning, lobbying our money managers, trying to find a product that was suitable, and then get customer support. We had to get £100 million of customer pledges in order to launch the fund, which we managed to do by December of last year.
Amazing.
So it's come around completely on the back of our customers' wishes, and we still continually survey them. We tweak our plans as much as we can in line with their feedback, and if necessary, go back out to market and look for something else that meets their changing needs.
I think listening to your customers and they telling you that they want this, I think the power then is then to look at, can we make this happen? Can we actually develop a product that suits their needs? The fossil fuel free plan that we've launched this year has actually been one of our fastest growing plans, and customers really like it. And it's actually really challenged us also in terms of, from a marketing perspective, how do you incorporate those messages into your overall proposition to PensionBee? But it's a fascinating cycle of continuously listening to your customers and not just change the message on your billboard, but it's sometimes going as deep as coming up with a product that your customer actually wants.
Yeah, I actually had a question teed up for later about the push to get rid of fossil fuel investments in pensions. So you beat me to it. And that I thought it might have something to do with being customer centric and listening to your customers. So that's great. I also want to say, this was another Easter egg question that I had that I thought I'd maybe get to later. But going back to what you were saying, Jasper, about the values, and the first one being love, as we were prepping for this interview, Leanne, our producer, was saying, they're just so nice. The emails that she had with you, the interaction that she had, they're just really nice people. So from us, at least, that idea of love in all touch points, at least at this point, we are not customers. Maybe we will be at some point, but it definitely comes across. So let's dig into the nitty gritty. Sorry, Rachel. Did you want to build on that?
I was just going to say thank you, and just that, I think Jasper mentioned earlier that love is how we treat our customers and how we behave outwardly, but we also do that internally, and it's a big component of our culture. And yeah, PensionBee is a great place to work, and we seem to attract very like-minded individuals to the team.
Yeah, and I think it's there's so much time spent on trying to kind of figure out culture and build culture, and it is the most important thing. It's the foundation for any change, any growth, anything that you want to do if you're a team of more than one. And yet, where I think most people, not where they get caught up, but I fundamentally believe that culture, much like brand, is not what you say it is, it's what other people say it is. So you could say whatever values you want, but if people like me, or certainly your customers, don't feel it, then it really doesn't matter. And so I think that's also what's interesting about, and I don't know if it was intentional or explicit or just has come across this way to me, having your customers tell the brand story, I think is a powerful way to do it, because it's those people that decide who your brand is at the end of the day, not you sitting in the marketing team. You might have an idea of what you want it to be, but they get to make the final decision.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've always used customers in our marketing right from our very first billboard campaign through to now. And I don't think that's something will ever change. At the end of the day, as you've said, our customers can speak to the true value that our product gives them. And we encourage them to be completely honest and to say what they really think. And I think that definitely comes through.
So take us through the kind of actual nitty gritty of how you brought this campaign to life in the early days. Did you kind of write a brief and then go to an agency pitch? Did you know who you were going to work with? How did you get people on board and actually start the journey of figuring out this campaign and how you wanted to do it?
I think it's come back for quite a while. So when you start a company like PensionBee and you're starting it really from scratch, what you're effectively doing as a marketeer is you get given quite a small budget, and you have to test as many channels, marketing channels, if you possibly can, against the lowest possible budget, and see which channels actually like stick, or you can get traction, you can get growth through the door. So initially you're really looking for functional messaging, product market fit, and try to see if it all works. But at one point, what was becoming clear is that we were actually getting customers, and it was quite successful. First of all, there's so many money you can spend on digital lower funnel conversion channels until you start to see diminishing returns. And I think it's a common problem many companies face. And in fintech, it's not different. So you will find that there are so many people who are kind of like in the consideration mode. Second bit that we started to look at working with a more branded campaign is that we were attracting a lot of customers, but we were attracting quite a group of young customers. They really want to try us out. It's a new app, it's a new product, it's fantastic. But what about those people of 50 plus and over that actually really could use us and really get a comfortable retirement? And that's where we didn't really reach them. They weren't considering us as a serious brand. And therefore, we had to go above the line. We had to invest upper funnel in more brand-related activity. And then you can do a couple of things. You can go to a really big fancy agency and they serve you excellent coffee at their pitch. And they've got really fancy offices and a nice deck. Lots of people in the room. All I was thinking when I was visiting them, oh my God, I have to pay for all of this. How on earth can I do this with this amount of budget? And actually, and this is for me also, it's not just for small brands to consider, but also for bigger brands, is the agency model is also evolving. And it's probably moving away from these big agencies that will only come out of bed for God knows £500,000 for a creative concept. So we actually end up working with, I would say, 3 people who used to work at those big agencies, got tons of experience, and thought, actually, we don't want to work in this environment anymore. And they moved to a more smaller, I would say, partnership. So they've got a really small agency. They're 3 really smart brains, but they've got the black book to match it when it comes to finding a radio producer or shooting a billboard campaign. And that for me felt like a much more comfortable setup. So we were able to go on TV in January 2019. We were spending £30,000 on advertising on TV in January, which is a tiny budget for TV, just daytime slots. And the commercials we were using, I think we spent 10 grand on it. Like, it was really cheap to produce. They weren't the best possible, but actually they looked pretty cool. They actually looked really cool. We were first customer shot on Western-super-Mare on the beach. He was very happy using PensionBee. And those ads, they were really flying. And therefore, we started then to see the opportunity of TV. We were able to measure it properly. We could see how many installs, how many signups we got within 5 minutes of one of those daytime slots. Put a CPA on it and noticed that actually this looks pretty good. And therefore, we started to do slightly more and more TV. Then your production budget suddenly goes from 10 grand to 25 grand for a TV spot, and so forth. So I think the process for us was really about start small, test small, and see if you've got traction. I would say, what's your minimum advertisable product in terms of what can you get away with? And then when it starts to really scale, then you can also put more money behind it. And then we move into radio. We did exactly the same approach. The first radio commercials were very cheap to produce, but now we can get some nice voice actors in and we can spend more money on it. So that's the process we followed. These guys, and they're called the Builders Arms, by the way, also they challenged us. So they said at one point, team, you have to focus on those emotions that your customers are telling you they're feeling. And therefore they challenged us. And we were very nervous because I'd rather just stick a phone on a billboard and say, combine in under 5 minutes, sign up now. And if I could, if I could put like a URL on it so I can measure the impact, you have to throw that overboard at some point. You really have to focus on that being truly unique. They challenged us. So I think the story here for me is that if you feel it's time to invest in brand, don't just go straight away to a massive agency, because you're spending so much money on developing that creative concept, and there's hardly anything left to advertise. You can actually start small and then scale up when you start to see the effects.
Yeah. And I think you also don't know with big agencies, and having spent a lot of time in that world, you also don't know who you're going to get, because the team on the pitch is usually not the team that's actually going to be on your business. And agencies, especially for creative, at the end of the day, it's the person. Like, forget the name on the wall. It's whoever is on your business. But I think just to draw out a couple things from what you said, because I see this as a consistent perspective and principle that many challenger brands do very well. The idea of start small, which I think well, maybe not. I don't know. Maybe, bigger businesses don't do that naturally. But I think a lot of people are there of like, okay, I'm going to test a bunch of different things and see what works. But I think the other thing that challengers do really well is they double, triple, quadruple down on something as soon as they see it's working. They leave no juice left in the orange when they start to see those results. And that seems like something that you're really driving and doing at PensionBee. And the other thing that's amazing, I think people think of going above the line in TV as like, all right, I need a 6, if not 7-figure budget to go do that. In today's day and age, you can actually start pretty small with that. And, the trackability, I would say, maybe is not perfect and totally depend. If you have an app and it's a download business or it's a direct traffic website business, then maybe, but it can be tricky for other businesses for sure. But there's definitely an opportunity now to be testing that a little bit more often. It's no longer the realm of just the big traditional incumbent brands. So, Rachael, how about you? Any kind of learnings from this whole experience of bringing this campaign to life?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it is just around, customers and just really championing our customers' voices, and making sure that they're always in advertising, no matter how big we get, how much, more budget we have to spend, that we always stay true to our core values and always let our customers shine through.
Amazing. So let's talk about the community angle here. And Jasper, when we were at that dinner, whenever it was, I remember you talking about some of the kind of nomenclature and the puns that you use all around bee and bees. And I think, it's kind of silly and it's funny, but I think it genuinely does help to build a sense of community around the brand. So could you talk to me? I remember beekeepers was one of them. I think that's your customer support. I'm not sure what you call them, but those people. But can you talk about how and I don't know if it was a marketing thing or a leadership thing in general, how did that come to life? How do you make it real? Yeah, how do you make it kind of significant for people and not just kind of like hey, we're a startup, therefore we have funny names for people? How does it become a real thing that helps to build the brand and build trust in the brand as well, I'd imagine?
Well, it is as sticky as honey, isn't it? So just to stay in that area. Oh God, yeah, I know, bad pun. I say what makes your brand rememberable? Now, first of all, I can go down the list of the predictable ones for a financial brand like PensionBee, good pension product, good investment managers, fair fee, and everything. But having a really yellow, distinctive branding also really helps. But we call PensionBee, and bee is where bee is collecting nectar, and that we and kind of like if you turn it into translatable things, instead of calling somebody an account manager or a case manager, you call them a beekeeper. A pension administrator who administers your pension is called a nectar collector. Your online account is your beehive, where all your pension pots are coming together. Pot, honey pot, pension pot. So it just becomes much more memorable for a customer. And as long as you do it in a way that doesn't sound childish or people don't take you seriously, this is just another gimmick. But if you strike the right tone, then it will stick with you. You will remember it. It's incredibly helpful to build brand awareness amongst pension savers in this case. And I would say if you would compare any of our other brands who might not use it so consistently, they are less memorable. The other thing is our customers actually, you can see it in the word bubbles that we get through customer communication and customer feedback. So on Trustpilot, for example, the amount of times people talk about my beekeeper, blah, blah, is been really helpful in transferring my pensions. It sticks with people. And I think as long as you strike the right tone, it's not childish at all. And I don't think we're planning on ditching it anytime soon.
So is your CEO the queen bee?
Oh yes, she definitely is. And I think her dad actually came up with the brand name PensionBee. I'm just looking at Rachel. That's the case, isn't it? So because of the beehive, you're collecting stuff. It goes pretty deep actually, because at PensionBee, although you can open a new pension, most customers will actually sign up by combining their old pensions from previous jobs in a new plan. So what you're doing is you're collecting your money you already have, bringing that into one pot, one place, and therefore you help to grow your savings. And it's actually remarkably similar of what bees do in nature. Hence, that's why she came up with PensionBee.
Very sticky, as you said.
I know, so sticky.
All right. I would love to talk a little bit about, so PensionBee went public on the London Stock Exchange back in April. Rachael, I understand you had a big role to play in the marketing and the communications around the IPO process. You even won Best IPO Communications Award, which I didn't know was a thing, but sounds great, and congratulations.
Thank you.
I'd love to hear a little bit about that process. I think it'd be really interesting for our audience, whether they're in a business that might be going public or just for a event that's so important and sensitive, how you approach managing marketing and communications for something like that.
Sure. So at our time of, going full acceleration towards an IPO, it was at the height of the pandemic. So our challenge was how we create something that helps tell our brand story, hits all of the key investment highlights for investors without being able to do those in-person investor roadshows, and to really kind of tour and get in front of people. So we settled on the idea of creating a brand documentary. So we created one that was quite IPO focused, which we put on our investor relations center in the run up to the IPO. And then subsequently, we've turned it into some evergreen content around our brand. But that was really instrumental in telling our story and conveying the PensionBee journey from when we were founded in 2014 right up to just for IPO this year, and just that strong growth trajectory, and everything that investors, whether they were retail investors, because we opened an offer up to our customers so they could also take part in our IPO, or larger institutional investors, the message was exactly the same.
And how, there's obviously the external component to that. I would imagine the internal process and coordination and alignment with leadership and the rest of the people involved in the IPO process was really key as well. Can you talk a little bit about how you approach that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we ended up featuring pretty much every member of the senior leadership team in the video. So we hired a location for a week. We got everybody in. People were in kind of in half-day shifts, and the feedback we got from the team was actually quite interesting because it was one of the first times that they'd left the house during lockdown. So, it was lockdown, but also, you're in an IPO bubble, you're just working a lot of hard work goes into it. So it was almost a chance for people to come onto the set and to, even though we were filming something quite serious and, we had a lot of important information to convey, we still managed to make it fun, and it was a nice day out for the team members. So I think the cooperation that we had was amazing, and everybody really gave it lots of energy, which I think comes across in the final piece.
I think also for me, from my standpoint of view, because I had to show up on Rachel's film set for half a day to talk about PensionBees marketing. The interesting thing is, I have no comparison because this has been my first IPO process I've ever been in my career. But normally, what I understand is when you are on an IPO roadshow and you're going to talk to key investors, you're going to visit them. So in this case, I wasn't. I was doing it all for my study in my home and talking to investors in a couple of weeks that we were talking to loads of them. Now, one of the key things that came up from the roadshow, and we knew that was going to happen. I'm very happy that was the case. Lots of investors asked the same questions. And they were all gathered around how are you going to approach marketing, what's driving the business, et cetera, et cetera. Of course, that's what's going to happen. But they were very much the same set of questions. And because we were also offering PensionBee customers to invest in the business, we had to explain what makes PensionBee so unique. And video brings things to life. A prospectus gives you the detail and the depth needed to make a good investment decision, but video brings things to life and put a face on what we're doing. We also, again, we included real customers in this particular product. So one, you are answering your most commonly asked questions by institutional professional investors, which you can address directly, but also you can help your own customers who are looking to invest in the IPO to bring that story to life. And I think that's why the video worked so well, even with the whole COVID-19 pandemic raging. I think we recorded this in January, I believe, end of January. We were all at home, and being able to do that, bringing things to life, was very crucial for us.
The brand documentary, are those the clips that you sent over ahead of time, or is that something different?
I think those are snippets from the bigger snippets, because the IPO documentary, I believe, was around 15 minutes, because you do need to go into every single detail of the offering. We turned some of these clips, again, still the startup vibes. We turned some of these clips into snippets that we can really use to on other parts of our customer journey, because they are just as valuable.
Okay, cool. And is the full documentary something that we can include in the show notes? Is that a public thing?
Yeah, absolutely. So I can send you a link to that. It's on our YouTube channel.
That'd be amazing. Thank you. So Jasper, I had a question for you. So
Eric.
Yeah.
Eric, there is definitely some lockdown hair going on. So I do want to put a big disclaimer on that video once you start sharing it.
Fair enough.
Yeah, we had hair and makeup in full PPC, but we couldn't quite arrange haircuts for everybody. So yes, it's definitely clearly everyone's a little bit scruffier than usual.
Good to know. Okay, so Jasper, I had a question for you. It must have been amazing seeing this IPO happen, having been the second hire at this company and having overseen marketing from the very beginning, being part of the leadership team from the very beginning. So I'm curious, well, how long have you been there now?
Since September 2015.
2015, so 6 years. How has marketing evolved over that time? Because you've taken it, I don't know how you define yourself if you're still a startup, but you've certainly taken it from a very small business and a brand that nobody knew about to now a full function, at scale marketing department and a brand that has pretty good awareness across the UK. What's that journey been like for you? And if there's anything you can share about if there were kind of like I don't know how you saw it, but if there were like specific differences where you like leveled it up to a different level. How did you take something that was so small and take it all the way through to an IPO brand?
Wow. Well, first of all, it's been an amazing experience. It's an experience that I don't want to repeat. I think you do this once in your lifetime. I got the opportunity with the team to build a brand from scratch and bring it to almost adulthood, really. I think when you are IPOing, I feel you definitely leave your startup jacket behind and you are a serious brand to contend with in the market. It's amazing. Like, I came from a company where I had a nice job. I was head of marketing at an insurance provider and was doing I came from a performance marketing background, then did more brand campaigns, but ultimately PensionBee gave me the opportunity to really build something from scratch. And oh boy, from day one, I had to write a press release. Then I had to test a PPC campaign. I am not a native English speaker, as you probably can hear. I'm Dutch. So how do I do a press release? And then Romy, my boss, CEO, had to then correct spelling mistakes on and it was a sea of red, and I could absolutely cry. It was horrible, and long days, and hardly any money to spend. I mean, you are leaving your ego at the front door. Absolutely. And so if you've been in marketing for a long time and you're stepping into a startup like that, if you've had an ego, it's gone, or you have to leave it at the door because you won't survive. So for me, I felt very exposed. And also with marketing, it's such an evolving practice. Like things that are working now probably didn't exist 5 years ago. So as a marketer, you could never be completely in the know of everything. So I was just a big sponge, soak it all up and just learn on the fly. And I've made terrible mistakes. I've also made mistakes that cost us quite a bit of money. And I got the eye from Romy and Jonathan, the co-founders, like, what did you do again? But then again, they encouraged me to test and learn, test things as small as you can. Sometimes they were not as small. They were a bit bigger than I was anticipating, but we all make those mistakes. But then if they work, you scale up quickly. And that's something I've really learned, that it's okay to make mistakes. You have to test small, scale up quickly. That's been the biggest learning curve. And to be honest, it's nice to now have a great team. Like very quickly, we were able to hire people, and we're doing it together. I'm not doing it alone. We're doing it together. I've got an amazing team working on making PensionBee a success. But those first days, Eric, were horrifying sometimes, and also fantastic. When the first customer signed up in March 2016, we hit the bell, and one stage you have to get rid of the bell because they're signing up quite a few times per hour. So that's a fantastic process to see happening.
Amazing. All right. So anything else that we didn't touch on? Any other kind of perspectives or learnings that either of you wanted to share today?
So I think the big challenge, Eric, for PensionBee going into next year is you're as good as your last campaign. And especially now post IPO, we have definitely some serious growth ambitions to really be that leading online pension provider. And I think one of the challenges we are looking at right now is that we want to make pensions simple and engaging, so you can look forward to a happy retirement. But simple doesn't mean basic. And customers need to understand. And we need to get that message across that when customers join PensionBee, they're actually getting a really high quality pension, like really good money managers. It's a really good way to save for a happy retirement. So what we sometimes see is that customers sign up maybe with 1 or 2 small pots to try us out. How can we convince those customers to transfer all of their money to PensionBee, so we are becoming their provider of choice for a happy retirement, not just a provider on the side? That is the key challenge here. And I think more than ever, brand advertising and really bringing home those values that customers give confidence that we are the provider of choice. That's the challenge here. And I wouldn't say keeps me awake at night, but it's something that's really on my mind.
Thing. Yeah, and I think it's true. And the word trust comes to mind, as we talked about before, because I think that for a lot of challengers, but definitely in the financial services world for fintechs and challenger banks, I think of, but also a business like yours, I think we're kind of at this point where a lot of them have gained a lot of mind share and market share. But now the question is, can they turn the page to actually be the predominant or the primary financial service provider for people? So it sounds like that's the challenge that you're thinking about too.
Yeah. And Eric, we've got the ingredients, in my opinion, as in our retention rate is 95% plus. So when customers join us, they don't leave. And I just feel that if we can make those customers confident to transfer all of their money, what that actually will mean is that they have everything in one place. It has tremendous amounts of benefits. From a business perspective, it means that the revenue you earn on a customer will also be better. So efficiencies there are to be had. And our target is to become profitable in 2023. And aside from huge customer numbers, and we are seeing those numbers, customers signing up in droves, it's really important that we also make sure that we keep keep improving the quality of those customers. And one key factor is transferring all of your pods or start adding contributions. That means that we need to improve the engagement of our product. It means that we are integrating open banking features into the Beehive. So you can do roundup savings. You can see when you change jobs, we're able to see that. So you can we can automatically transfer that if you like to, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that's the challenge ahead for us. It's great to give people sense of relief when they're finally on top of their pensions. Are they on top of all their pensions is question one. Mm-hmm. Are they not secretly missing out on some of those pots when they sign up? And two, can we give them enough confidence when they are using our products to really build that happy retirement? So adding contributions, adding other pots that coming in throughout their working life and stay with us until they reach retirement and beyond.
Great. Rachael, any last thoughts or comments from you?
Yeah, I realised that when we were talking about our fossil fuel-free plan, I didn't actually explain what it was. So just for clarity, the fossil fuel-free plan invests in over 900 global companies, but deliberately excludes those firms with proven or probable reserves of oil, gas or coal. It also excludes investment in controversial weapons manufacturers, tobacco companies, and also companies that don't meet the UN Global Compact. So what it does invest in is companies that are aligned with the Paris Agreement and plans that are ready for the transition to a low carbon future.
Amazing. And if you have like a landing page or something, you can send that over and we'll include it in the show notes as well. So we are out of time, but Jasper, Rachael, thank you so much for joining me. Really enjoyed it. What should people go to check out more of the work that you're doing?
First of all, PensionBee.com is the right place to go, or you can download our app to find out what we do. And I would definitely check out our fossil fuel free page. You can read more about the plan. You can find it on our website too.
All right. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day. All right, so this week I'm excited to share with you all an organization that I've been involved in for the last few months and have really enjoyed participating in and have learned a lot. So here today with me, we have Lucy Cutter, who is the president of Bloom UK for 2021. She's going to tell us a little bit about Bloom, why it exists, how people can get involved. But Lucy, thank you so much for making the time and coming on to chat about what you're up to with Bloom.
No, thank you very much for inviting me. So Bloom is a professional network for women in communications. It's a volunteer network and we're in its 11th year of running, which is amazing. We have over 500 members. We also have 350 mentees and 70 boosters. So all of the mentees have around kind of 1 to 5 years experience. All of our members have 7 years plus, and our boosters kind of sit in that 2-year gap. So they've got kind of between 5 and 6 years experience to kind of bridge the gap between becoming a mentee to becoming a member. So that's kind of a little bit about what Bloom is. In terms of what we try to accomplish, we're all about empowering women to be whoever they want to be. We see ourselves as the real voices in the industry, and we're all about creating gender equality within the industry. There's kind of like 3 approaches to doing that. The first one is around spearheading industry change through the exchange, which you've just briefly heard about, but also through some of our wider initiatives. So a recent example is our parenting playbook, which we collated from 200 kind of data points across the industry. And this survey basically offers us practical advice and initiatives which can be implemented within the workplace to create a positive and more effective experience for those pre, during or post maternity leave. We also have future-proof women's careers. So we do this through enriching events like our Bloomfest event, which we had in November. But we also host lots of inspirational and motivational kind of speakers and communications to all of our members on a monthly basis. And finally, we pay it forward, which is our third kind of initiative. And this is all our mentoring program. So as I said, we've got a mentoring program for 350 women, matched up with 350 Bloom members. So I think it's the largest mentoring program in the industry. We also pair up with a company called Believe, or a charity called Believe. And this is about empowering women to be whoever they want to be and to achieve leadership roles. And we also have a charity partner, Women's Aid. So every year we donate a huge amount of money to such an important charity, which is Women's Aid. So that's a little bit about Bloom and what we do. In terms of, if you want to find out more, then please head to our website, which is bloomnetwork.uk. You can also follow us on all socials, so on Twitter, LinkedIn and Instagram. So just look for Bloom Network UK and you should be able to find us and follow us and hear all of our latest news and how you can join Bloom next year.
Amazing. And I will say, for me, being part of that exchange, I've been lucky enough to be paired up with an amazing woman, and we've kind of had this monthly check-in over the last few months and shared perspectives and ideas and feedback and support, and it's definitely helped me grow as a manager, as a professional, just as a person. So I've really enjoyed being a part of it, and hopefully as we grow and the team here at Rival grows, we can get more people involved as well. Lucy, I have to ask, I know, so Bloom is only UK. For people that are listening in Europe, US, or further afield, do you know any similar organizations that do something like this?
I know lots of the countries have similar kind of organisations or kind of volunteer networks. We have at Bloom tried to set up Bloom Global, so as there's been quite a lot of international travel and people have moved around within the industry. So if anyone is interested in kind of talking to Bloom about how they could set up Bloom UK into one of their local markets, then please get in touch, and that's definitely a conversation that we can have.
Yeah, amazing. Great. Well, Lucy, thanks so much for coming on, and we'll include some links to Bloom in the show notes, so really hope some people listening can check it out and apply and get involved.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Take care.
Scratch is a production of Rival. We are a marketing innovation consultancy that helps businesses develop strategies and capabilities to grow faster. If you want to learn more about us, check out wearerival.com. If you want to connect with me, email me at eric@wearerival.com or find me on LinkedIn. If you enjoyed today's show, please subscribe, share with anyone you think might enjoy it, and please do leave us a review. Thanks for listening, and see you next week.